there is no deliverable or outcome yet, look for behaviors. If people ask for help, offer help, take risks, praise these behaviors, and then make sure team understands that this behavior is very welcome and it's constructive. And then if there is neither outcome nor behavior, look harder. There is always something to praise.
While we are on the remote work and remote teams, project management, we often learn that osmotic communication, which means that when you are in that area, in the same building and the team is around, you learn a lot of things from your team members, knowingly or unknowingly. We overhear a few things, details of the projects and all. So how do you handle those types of communication or situations where team members could learn when they are in the same periphery? Right? Today, I'm joined by one of the top voices on LinkedIn, Peter Ivanov. Peter is a keynote speaker and Amazon top 3 authors, and he empowers leaders to build hybrid power teams where humans and AI deliver top results. This is part 3 series with Peter Ivanov. If you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, please go ahead and watch both the parts. This is the continuation of part 1 and part 2. We have covered a lot of ground, from how to power virtual teams, how to lead team members from confrontational to non-confrontational team members, and to bring discipline in project program management. So please go ahead and watch the full series.
And if you give enough recognition, this will become also part of their goals. Apart from the project goals and deliverables and work stream, they may have some enabling role. Sometimes you work in a strange or exotic locations. So gamification is cool, but it should be positioned well. Let people be creative.
How do they handle a team where one person wants to argue openly and another thinks that it's a total sign of disrespect?
And if you do that and people commit publicly, then they hold each other peer accountable.
How do you build high-performing teams in this era of AI?
But in many areas, this intern knows a lot more than you.
An AI robot as a trusted team member, you have mentioned. That's a bit of a mind bender. So do we need to start onboarding AI just like you would as a human? Or and if AI eventually takes over our scheduling and our status reports, what are the 3 leadership skills that we are going to be AI proof for the next decade?
Story unfolds, the parent struggles. In the end, the team is powerful, and they actually, after the earthquake in the Himalayas, they built resilient houses in the outskirts of Himalaya. But there is a lot of leadership lessons on the way and a lot of emotions in this small global team who is actually making it.
I mentioned about your world champion in the bio. My audience, who are all project, program, and portfolio managers, we often feel we are throwing a heavy weight every single day just to keep the projects on track. In sports, you train for years for a throw that just lasts for few seconds. In our world, we are in 2-year marathon. So how do you take that elite athlete's discipline and inject it into a team that's stuck in a messy middle of the long-term program or project?
Ability to listen to feedback is key. You should seek for feedback, and for the project managers in the audience, you have to institutionalize this team feedback.
For the remote leaders listening, how can they act as an information radiator for their team's success without it feeling like they are just bragging to their bosses? Hello and welcome to PMP with Prachi, the podcast dedicated to helping you master your project management and transition from a manager to a project leader. As a project and program managers, we often talk about the heavy lifting we do for our organizations, keeping the budget in check, the stakeholders happy, and the deadlines met. My guest today takes that metaphor quite literally. Peter Ivanov is a world senior champion in discuss, But when he isn't throwing the heavy objects in the stadium, he's helping some of the world's biggest companies solve much more complex problems. That is, how do you lead a high performing team when you are staring at them through a computer screen? Peter is the author of Virtual Power Teams, and he's been at the forefront of this long before the remote work was even a buzzword. But what I love about Peter's approach is that it isn't just about Jira boards and status reports, it's about the invisible gravity that holds a team together. Today, we are going to get into the messy human side of the job. Whether you are starting a project management, just starting your project management journey, or a portfolio manager overseeing a global empire, this conversation is going to give you a whole new perspective on the human side of the PMO. Peter, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Prachi. Equally very excited and looking forward.
Speaking about the personalities, you are a true global citizen, Peter. And that adds another layer. It's not just about personalities, it's cultures as well. So, if we look at Erin Mayer's work on conflict, where some cultures are direct and others are indirect. So, how does a leader bridge the gap through a computer screen? Like, how do they handle a team where one person wants to argue openly and another thinks that it's a total sign of disrespect? What's the
Yes,
one thing we can do to start developing that truly global mindset?
yes. I love Erin Mayer's work. And I have a big rock. One of the 10 is diversity, how to define the optimal team culture. And as a mathematician, I do it. Erin Mayer has the scales anyway. I think she has 8 scales, different kind of dimensions. One is like leadership from autocratic leadership, authoritarian. It's like the culture in the country, like Russia, China is quite authoritarian culture where big distance from the leader, he makes the calls, to egalitarian culture, like the Scandinavian countries. Small difference, you can criticize the boss, no problem. And I would pick the scale. Usually I work with free scale. Leadership, I just described authoritarian, egalitarian. Decision making in some countries is top down, in the other is more consensus based. Like Germany is more like autocratic country, but decision making is quite consensus based. Usually if you make a big decision, take a lot of time to consult all parties and so on. You make decision, but then you execute it, no change. And like America sometimes is also autocratic, but the leader have the power to decide. And if in a month or two environment change, he change his mind, then you frustrate a lot the Germans. So it is the key is to define which are for the team the key dimensions, maybe one of the 8 scales in Erin Mayer. By the way, the third scale I use is conflict, which actually has to do with the example you say. In some countries, they're kind of avoiding conflict because these are the cultures like China and some other Asian countries. If you disagree with a person in public, it's taken like a disrespect, you're losing face and so on. Countries like France and Germany and Netherlands, very direct. In school they debate, so you kind of practice to disagree just to get the best argument in a debate. So it's quite different. Again, let the team decide for any of those skills the optimal position, and they should debate and come up with good arguments, pros and contra for this position. And literally on the scale, they make a mark, like this avoiding confrontation versus confrontational. They put place on the scale, and then there is a debate. So this is our position as a team. We consciously go for it. And then everybody, another exercise, what can I do to support this position? If you decide to be more confrontational, apparently the Chinese and Japanese have to step out big time of their comfort zone, accept, this criticism and direct feedback, and also be ready to do it. But that's what they commit. I say I will be open, and they make the commitment to live the chosen culture. And then what our leader can do, in terms of maybe framework, events, what we need, like meetings or focus. And if you do that and people commit publicly, then they hold each other peer accountable. If you kind of never go into direct feedback that you promise to do this and that, and this start stop continue doing, you could refer to the commitments made. So this is a nice way to visualize the culture and allow people to analyze and make behavioral commitments to support the team culture.
That's very fruitful. Here, I would like to shift gears a bit and talk about AI, since we are talking a lot about AI. How do you build high performing teams in this era of AI? Like, how do you do
Yes.
that?
It is now I was Virtual Power Teams, Mr. Virtual Power Teams with the book and so on. Now I'm kind of rebranding to hybrid power teams. Hybrid including the meaning of hybrid, like some in the office, some home office or different locations, which is like a subset of virtual, but also hybrid human and AI. So the people and the AI agents. And the principles for uniting humans are still the same. In the hybrid, there is some tuning about when to have a meeting, when to work in the office, when to be hybrid, some in the office for different purposes. Some formats are optimal, like for individual work productivity, working from home is best. You don't have any distraction. But for like building the strategy and so on. So that's another story. I have a video on that. But you have principles for uniting humans, and now we increasingly include AI agents to perform specific tasks. And agents, this is next level compared to the chatbots, they have a goal that we define, the humans, and they do activities, connect with tools, execute tasks in order to achieve this goal. And they still need quite a lot of guidance. With the newest AI, some of them autonomously, in particular contests, can achieve some goals without even any guidance. But usually it is the goal we set as a human, and we need to be bold, not so to think everything through like an algorithm, you put programming how exactly to do it. This is the goal, like develop me a market entry strategy for South Asia. Bold, hairy goal for the agent. But then when he does his various way, it's like macro delegate the big task and then micro steer, follow the intermediate results, provide extra feedback. It's like working with a very, very smart intern that you give tasks, you need to steer, but in many areas, this intern knows a lot more than you. So I think there is skills like goal setting becomes applicable for everyone, not just for managers, setting goals on the agents, providing feedback, this micro steering, and also the different other tips, which I would stop here. Principles are the same for humans: psychological safety, interdependent goals, essentially my 10 big rocks, plus ability to redesign workflows, particularly for managers and project managers. Because if you have AI agent, you need to look at the workflow holistically. And in some cases, it makes sense to include AI agents with particular goal and feedback and limitation, constraints, and so on. So this is human in the loop. This is the AI agent. This is purely human activity. Redesigning workflows will become very key for, project management processes and for other operational roles in any business.
We have covered a lot of ground today. So before wrapping up, I would like to ask you the last question about Brian, an AI robot as a trusted team member you have mentioned. That's a bit of a mind bender. So do we need to start onboarding AI just like you would as a human? And if AI eventually takes over our scheduling and our status reports, what are the 3 leadership skills that we are going to be AI proof for the next decade?
Yes. So this Brian story, he was a RPA, robot process automation, raising invoices and purchase orders and taking information from one system, putting into the other. And initially there was a lot of Germans, a bit conservative, a lot of concern in the team, now we will be replaced and fired. And that's why we introduced Brian, and they come up. Brian is one of these Backstreet Boys singers. They chosen the avatar. And in the end, we created together, I was a consultant, but then the project team, the role profile of Brian was created publicly, like open source. They come up with some ideas. Everybody on the team was able to comment. So in the end, the role profile in an open source way was agreed what Brian can do and cannot do. And then there was a welcome party when Brian sent an email, I'm here and start working. And I'm not very smart yet, but I will work for you 24/7. That was the email. So humanizing helps. There are two kind of schools. Some like humanizing AI, some say no. I'm in favor of the humanizing it in a way. If you could build a similar, it's not applicable for every kind of AI, but for many robotic tasks, when you have kind of a clear remit, it works okay. In this particular case, it was a game changer. And they introduced Kate and Fred. Fred is a dog. Kate is a lady avatar doing different tasks. Fred is they have a very complex bill of material. And for new products, you have to collect input from many systems, which was like days of work of several people. Now Fred is collecting all this from the system and putting together. But on your question, this is like a recommendation to consider humanizing it with the avatar. It helps a lot. On your question, the free skills, one of them I already mentioned, which is key. Redesign business workflows. You have a business process, business workflow is like subset of a bigger process. And when you put AI agents, when to put AI agents and not, what to be the constraints and limitations, where to put human in the loop and guardrails. So these are new skills which are logical. If you have a logical analytical thinking, you can come up with it, but that will be a key skill, which currently a few people do. More and more people will have to do it. And setting goals to the agents and providing feedback, so those things that I mentioned. And the other, I think, because we will be a lot of routine tasks, as you mentioned, status reports and meeting minutes and so on, and notification, follow-up. This could be done by AI perfectly. By the way, there is a Chinese company which has AI CEO. NetDragon is the name of the company, yes. And this CEO is doing maybe not some tasks which no CEO will do, but it's issued like 500,000 project notifications, for deliverables being late and so on, and coach employees 40,000 hours and so on. Wow. So in a project for like tracking and notifying and producing reports, it's already quite advanced. So once you save time on these administrative activities, second skill, I call it, become a super communicator with AI. So use the time to connect with your people, use the time to empower them with your presence. It's not about AI can help, but it's not to create numerous content, but to really sharpen the content so you could deliver it in the most impactful way, or spend time with them in a formats like start, stop, continue, or praising them, finding things to praise which really enable the human side to be motivated, energized. So apart from workflow redesign, super communicator, and the third one is the classics we mentioned several times, be able to create psychological safety. Because AI is demanding, it saves you effort on one side, but if you prompt one thing, it comes with a huge amount, so you need to analyze. It becoming, in some cases, more stressful to decide what is good and what is not, to constrain here and there. So people will be more excited or in more anxiety mode and work even harder, much more productive for sure. So ability to connect with them, to have this safety, it's okay. If you make a mistake, we appreciate that as a team. We all learn from it. So people could openly share if they have, problems, too much work and so on. creating this safe environment in the team will be key, because my intuition tells me it will be more the repetitions in terms of energy and in terms of um, like if you have a spin, I'm missing the word in English, but as a team we will achieve much more tasks with the help of AI, but this is a cognitive load, so we would need a counterbalancing emotional support and fun and ability to also relax so you stay productive, don't burn out. So this ability to create safe environment and also let people to retain their energy will be also a key skill.
Yeah. And you reminded me of one of the reels I was seeing that if we don't prompt properly, it will give you the same exact results. Like one of the reels I was seeing is uh, for Uber and DoorDash marketing. They had exact same two banners. If you change the names or if you just remove the names, you won't know. You as a human can know that it is created by AI because it has generated the same results. But it's even important to communicate better with AI, like to get better results.
Yes.
Uh, and Peter, I have to say that I'm going to be thinking about the AI teammate concept for a bit. That's interesting. I had never heard that AI CEO was
Mhm.
there.
You can put it in
And
the
how's the
podcast
company
notes.
doing?
Net Dragon, it's already 3 years been CEO. It is for, I think, the Asia Pacific part, and there is a formal, legally responsible human CEO as well. But it's doing a lot of things. People could search and find some.
Okay, that's so they still have a human in the loop.
Yes, I mean legally, it's not. You cannot put AI in jail or be liable. So this
Correct.
is another discussion going on: who bears responsibility. But as agents get smarter, then in
Yeah.
certain scenarios they will also be maybe liable. And this is a big debate currently: can they, have a bank accounts and this and that? So this is,
Uh-huh.
as we will have to define many things as society. Uh, as agent becomes, and AI becomes smarter and more independent.
Yeah, it's similar to self-driving car. Like we can't
Yes.
sue. There's no
Mm,
driver, so whom to sue? So
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, but thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights, Peter. It was really insightful.
It was a big pleasure, Prachi, and questions are really great. It made me think and also rediscover things. It's like you prompted me to come up with some to kind of collect all the information I have in my head, and a lot of case studies working with different companies. So appreciate that. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And to our listeners, whether you are an introvert finding your voice or a portfolio manager trying to keep your virtual atom together, I hope today gave you at least one big rock you can drop into your own project tomorrow. If you want to dive deeper into Peter's work or grab a copy of Virtual Power Teams, we have put all those links in the show notes. Um, and I'll also put the book you recommended, the Quiet uh,
Yes.
book.
Power of introverts.
Uh-huh. Okay. Quiet, the Power of Introverts, is it?
It is quiet the power of introverts in a world that cannot stop talking.
Okay, so I'll put the link below of the book as well. And as always, if you found today's episode helpful, please do share it with your colleagues and leave us a review. It's it's how we keep this conversation growing. Thanks for tuning in to PMP with Prachi. Keep leading with empathy, keep throwing those heavy weights, and I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, bye bye.